This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Good evening and welcome to a Millwall call-in. I don't want to call it a special, a tribute show. It's definitely one show I definitely didn't think I would ever have to do and mention the words I'm going to mention shortly. And to be fair, we were thinking about possibly doing a show last night and thought, no, to be fair, none of us could really get our heads around it. And we ummed and ahed about it all day today, but looking across Twitter, and obviously people going to the club to sign the book of condolence, players, ex-players, just thought that this could be a good way for Millwall fans with their stories to be able to share it and just put it out. We are going to stick this out as a podcast and obviously make it available there. We can't really make it available on YouTube because there's just no real way of doing that properly, to be fair. But yesterday we got the sad news that unfortunately our chairman, John Berylson, sadly lost his life in a tragic accident. And that news came out from the club and then obviously was picked up by various media outlets. What I'd like to do from the start is say tonight's show isn't about, any questions about what happens next or, what's going to happen to the club and all of that lot, because that's for a later show. Right now, this is just about remembering John, sharing some stories, what people have, and just, put in there that, anyone who knows John can listen, any Millwall fan can listen to this and listen to what he meant to us as individuals. I'll have some stories. I wasn't best mates with John in any shape or form, and I'm never going to pretend I was. But yes, I've had, phone calls and conversations and meetings with him over my time. And I just think that he was a genuine, nice bloke who, as far as he was concerned, he was just one of us. Someone of his stature walking around the stadium freely on match day, shaking hands, having selfies, and he never really thought that he had any fame. As far as he was concerned, he's just a Millwall fan. He's just looking after our club. And you used to always say, I'm just looking after it, doing the best I can for it. I've been absolutely cacking myself all day when we decided we'd do this show. Those of you requesting, I will get you in. And just to know, if I don't necessarily recognise your account, I will double check. So we might be a bit slow for thingy. People who've been on shows before, we'll get you in. But this is just really about stories and all that. Alex, Gracie, do you want to come in? Because I know you're at work and you just want to say something before running off. So you might as well go first, fella.
All right, Mick. I thought that was a really, really good intro, mate. I thought you'd done that really, really well. Look, I think all of us were in great shock last night when that message come through. When we saw that statement, I for one couldn't actually believe it. It's numb. It's a numb feeling, of course it is. For me, being on both sides of this as a supporter and as a reporter, you get the different views and the different angles of it. But what more can you say about someone who is just a legend of a man, a legend of everything to do with that football club? You know, I think I said it to you earlier, didn't I, when we were talking? I think the one word you could use to describe his whole reign, technically, is consistent. The man was consistent in everything he did. You know, he was consistently loyal. He was consistent. He backed everyone that was at that club. You know, 6 managers in 17 years. You know, the man knew how to look after a football club. He knew how to run the football club, albeit, I know he's got help for people doing it, but he was the man. You know, he was a man at the top. He saved the football. The reason you'll have a football club to support is because of the job that he's done.
No, I totally
The backing he's given, £100 million of his own money put into the football club. It's very rare you get an owner.
No, I get that, but I mean,
that
did you
delivers what he's delivered? You know, you've seen it with other clubs. You've seen it with clubs that are on the verge of going out of business. You know, the ones like Southend, for instance, Charlton have had difficult owners. But you've never seen.
Did you actually?
I don't think any EFL club, and from anyone that I've been to, that any EFL club that had a bond between the supporters and the owners that John Berylson had with Millwall fans, I struggle to see another club that's had that rapport between the two. I think we said it in the statement last night, didn't we? He was the example of just a genuinely fantastic owner of a football club, and what anyone thinks and says and delivers. I mean, you've seen the comments today from Sean Hutchinson, from Gary Rowett, as to what he did for them personally. I heard Steve Morrison last night as well on TalkSport. Alex had anything bad to say, and I think that's what Gary echoing was really in his message from the club earlier. It's just,
can you hear me, Alex?
It's numb. It's a numb feeling. I don't think anyone thought, or I don't think anyone's ever thought of what post Berylson era would be like. We've never had to think about it because we've never wanted to. So, no, look, I think it's definitely something that's going to rock the football club, and any success going forward. Look, it will be his legacy.
No, Alex, I get
and
that,
we have to do it for him, and we have to do it in his memory. And whatever happens next happens. But one thing that will never be forgotten will be what John Berylson did for Millwall Football Club.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you don't get paid by the word, mate. I'm going to get Dave in, and then I'll come to obviously.
Oh, you there? Or are you gone?
Stephen, and Ben. I'll come back to you two in a sec. Let's just get Dave in, who's standing in, who wants to speak. Dave, you're onto the Millwall calling, fella. Give us one of your experiences, maybe meeting John, or what John meant to you.
Yeah, evening, lads. I'm really glad you've done this tonight. It must have been hard to sort of consider doing it, but it's great.
Not sure quite what's happened to Mick there. Stephen, we want to throw to you, mate.
Go on, Dave.
I'm not quite sure what's happened there, Alex, but Mickey was coming through. Dave, do you want to just carry on, mate?
Yeah, thank you, lad. Sorry. Yeah, no, it's just I'm in a bit of a guilt thing. I think the last time I called in, I sort of asking, what's he going to do with the money? Is he going to put some more in? And I think the more I've learned today about the man himself, and it's unfortunate when people pass, you seem to find out a lot more about them than when they're alive. And I mean, some of the tributes I've heard from journalists, ex-players, I mean, no one's got a bad word to say about this man. I mean, he was... I mean, I was a bit tearful this morning, to be honest with you boys. It's, I just don't think it's ever going to be the same without him. I think what the man said earlier, he said about, what a chairman. He was a chairman that everyone would want as a chairman. You know, he was
Absolutely.
real. He was proper. He was with the fans, and I think we don't like a lot of people at Mill. Let's be fair, even with ex-players coming down, but he loved us, and I think we loved him.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on there, Dave. Absolutely. I mean, he was liked by everybody. I mean, some of the comments online you've seen and that, which we're going to in a bit as well. But thanks, Dave, for that. Ben, do you want to come in and say something? Because I know you've got to shoot off in a bit as well, mate. What was it you'd like to say, fella?
Yeah, cheers, mate. I mean, just from me, I don't have a story. I wasn't lucky enough to meet Mr. Berylson, but I think Alex summed it up really. It's such a strange feeling. It's just a feeling of numbness. And similar to Dave, I think we were all genuinely quite emotional. And I think as Millwall fans, that's probably the highest compliment you could ever give someone who's not another Millwall fan or you don't know personally. So for me, Mick, it's just about saying thank you to Mr. Berylson for everything he's done for us over the last few years. Yeah, look, I think every single football club in the country would want a chairman like John. We never had to worry about what tomorrow meant for Millwall because we were run in the correct way. And I think in this day and age with football owners taking the piss out of clubs and fans, I think that's the highest compliment you could pay to a football owner. And as I think we've all seen on social media over the last few days, I haven't seen a single bad word said about the man from.
I don't think you will.
No,
honestly,
and from any outlet, and the stuff that Steve Morrison said again got me quite emotional. He was that man that Steve rang, that Morrow rang when he was coming back to Mill, when he was at Mill, when he left Millwall, and again, just a tribute to what a fantastic bloke Mr. Berylson was. So yeah, for me, Mick is just about saying thank you for everything he does, and look, I hope the squad, the team, and the fans can do him proud this season, because I hope he knew what we all thought of him as our chairman, and certainly in my lifetime, he'll probably be the best we'll have.
I think he did, to be fair. And Stephen, I'll bring you in 2 secs, mate. I think he did, to be fair. I mean, my thoughts of him and talking to him on numerous amounts of times, and I'll go through some of the bits and pieces, my stories with him and stuff, which are, slightly different to some of your guys. But my first meeting with John was when the regen battle was starting, and me and Paul Turner just wanted to meet JB, really, just to let him see us and know that we weren't a couple of lunatics, basically, trying to start a coup, which we weren't. We just wanted to start something against Lewisham. So we managed to get an email to him, and we never in a million years thought that he was going to meet us. And then all of a sudden he agreed, and he said, I'm at Duke's Hotel behind, I think it's behind the Ritz. And he said, come and meet me. I've got a little while before I've got dinner with the directors end of season. Come and meet us. And my first encounter with JB was at Duke's, which is a boutique hotel, quite a posh boutique hotel, who are famous for making vodka drinks. And we were drinking vodka and passion fruit, freshly made out of fresh passion fruit. And we probably had, one or two too many when he was going into a director's dinner where maybe he needed to have his head about. But no, it was a great meeting, and from there, we went on from there and whatnot. And there's a few more stories along the way. But I found John to be very proud, very moral guided, loved his family, loved our club, considering that, he came to our club without a clue. And he didn't really know anything about football, learned a lot from Kenny Jackett, and then, as the saying goes, he just got the Millwall bug. And those of us who know that, once it gets you, it doesn't let go. And he would always talk about Millwall to people, or he'd phone people and he'd have conversations about Millwall and he'd talk about things. And the way he'd talk to you is if, he knew everything about it. He watched every game, spoke to managers after games. He was more than a chairman for namesake. He came as a stranger and become a massive fan. So he definitely was one of our own, to be fair. So yeah, Stephen, what's your thoughts, fella? Remember, if any of you do want to come on, just press the bottom left-hand corner where you'll see a microphone. You need to be on a mobile phone, but just press the request to speak button. And
Mickey, can I just got to can I just say one thing? I know you probably got to talk about this later, but I'm just wondering what sort of ideas do you think was sort of a tribute to John?
Well, you see, John was very. He wasn't for all that razzmatazz. I mean, I know that it was speculated that the training facility should be named after him, and he was like, no,
Yeah.
I didn't want any of that. I don't necessarily agree with naming the North Stand, purely because the North Stand's for away fans. I don't think that's an appropriate.
No, we don't want them using these names, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Honestly, I personally, something what has been, said on half about the training facility, I think that would be great. But again, no real fans will be able to get there. I personally agree with what Neil Fisher said on Up Till Millwall today, that the Docker stand, yes, it's got a history to us, but it's not. It would be great if that could become the John Berylson stand. To be fair, I haven't got an issue with the JB stand or the JB Stadium or anything along there. I do think that if we are ever going to have a statue, I think he probably takes top spot right now for that, purely for what
I was going to say, Mickey, I thought we're not a club that's had statues. I mean, a lot of clubs haven't we, and this will be our first one. And I thought, I mean, who could be a better person to have a statue of than the man that saved the club?
If anyone's been there today, and I've known people who've been there today, if anyone's gone to sign the book of condolence today, you will see how good a job the club. I don't know who's put it on. I know that Billy Taylor's over here and he's not in Spain, and Alex Russell's here, who's obviously doing the support liaison role. I don't know who's doing it. I've mentioned your two names because I know you two guys would probably have some involvement. But if you've been there today and seen the care, the attention, the way that's all moving and going ahead, I think whatever's decided, even if it's by the club, will be, I think, the right tribute for John. So, at the moment, I think it will come at some point. But yeah, I do think there will be a lasting memorial of some form. But at the moment, I don't know.
I mean, I even had flags at half mast this morning, Mickey, when I was walking past the train. I just thought it was fantastic. I mean, they're not the easiest to get to, and I just thought it was brilliant. But yeah, I just wanted to say that before. So, thanks for doing this, because it's nice just to get a bit of emotion out, mate. Because I can talk to my friends, but these are proper Millwall supporters, and it's a very sad day. And I wish you all the best, guys, and I'm sure we'll be fine.
Yeah, no, we'll be fine, mate. Don't panic. So yeah, Stephen, go on, fella. Thanks, Dave.
Firstly, just would like to pass on some condolences, obviously, to his wife, Amy, and his children and grandchildren. Obviously, we're talking about the impact that it's had on us as a fan base and a football club, but obviously they've lost a husband, a dad, a granddad, and it's obviously a very, very difficult time for them
100%.
as well.
And thanks for that, Stephen, because I've just remembered that we spoke about that beforehand, and when I did that intro, I completely forgot to mention them, even though I was making sure that I got all their names correct beforehand, and yeah, I completely forgot. So thanks for that, mate.
No, it's. I think at the moment, Mickey, I think everyone's. It's very emotional. It's very raw. It almost feels like, whilst we're talking about like his family, it almost feels like we've lost a part of our family. Someone that's always been there. Someone
I'll tell you what I described him as earlier. I think I described him to you. I described him to Alex in earlier. It was basically, he's like that uncle what you have at family get-togethers and whatnot, who gives you the best birthday presents and whatnot, even though you might not see them often, but they always, they always make you feel loved. They always make you feel excited. They always, that sort of family member who isn't really a family member as such, not really close, but it's someone who you have an utmost respect for. And I think that's what John is. I think he's.
I think he's always been there. Everybody knows him. He's always sort of, well, I mean, I was about 15 when he took over the club, and I'm sure there'll be other listeners that were older, younger, and have other memories. But John Berylson he was just somebody that everybody knew how much Millwall meant to him. And I don't always think that, and I hope that, and I'm sure that the other listeners will agree with me. I hope he realises just how much he meant to us and he meant to the other players. I mean, I met John a couple of times, nothing major, just around the ground, sort of said hello, thank you. I met him at end of season awards and things, and had time to speak to everybody. But when you see some of the players, I mean, I may miss a few here, but you've got, the likes of Matt Smith, Joe Dolan, Steve Morrison, Richard Shaw, Jed Wallace. Obviously, we all know that Jed was at the ground
Jed
today.
Jumped on a train this morning, mate, and come down to sign a book of condolence, give his thoughts to people, obviously, who he knows in the club and whatnot. And then I think, as far as I'm led to believe, jumped back on a train and went back up north.
And that to me just shows how much of an impact that John had on him and plenty of other players. I mean,
Brian King was there today. Neil Harris, I think, has been there. Yeah.
And that's it. The names. I know that to us that those people are huge figures in our history, but that's how much they thought of the man. And I saw a lovely tribute from David Ford. Fordy was a good friend of his as well. It's one of those you sort of see him around the ground and you see how much he loved us and we loved him, mate. And I hope he knows that, and I'm sure he appreciated the fact that the supporters, as a fan base, we're often the villain. Regardless of the scenario, but John Berylson knew that we wasn't the villain. We were a passionate, loyal fan base, and he did everything for us, and I think we respected and loved him for that.
Oh, he would fight for us he would fight for us so much. It was unreal. I mean, West Ham, the court case there, he was ready to throw whatever needed to be done at it. Various press what have done us harm over the years. He's gone from banning people, getting people to be banned, from like news organisations and that and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, if it was led to him, Christ, some people would be really dealt with. But no, he didn't take fools lightly, and he didn't believe the media portrayal of us. He knew what we were about.
He didn't.
And he went from there. Hang on 1 sec, Steve. Let's just get.
I think just before you do that one, before I forget, I think the biggest compliment that I think has come, if you can call it a compliment, there are players that are in our current squad at the moment that have been there for 5 minutes and have shown the utmost respect and made some absolutely wonderful comments. And there's people that have known him for a lot longer. And I think it didn't matter if you were part of Millwall for 5 minutes or part of Millwall for 15 years. the man had time for you and he would back you and do anything for you. And I just think he was a wonderful, wonderful man. And as everyone said, not a bad word's been said about him. And I think that speaks volume for a football owner.
Yeah, no, I do too. I mean, just a quick one, Alan, 2 secs, mate. A good point raised on a tweet by Terry. It said, he understands what I said about the North Stand, but it's a point what I never really thought of. He said, but, if they were to rename the North Stand, everybody in the stadium would be able to see his name above it, because obviously if you've done the Docker Stand, those in it wouldn't be able to see the name. But if it was the North or the away end, everybody would be able to see his name. So, yeah, I'll take your point on there, mate. Alan, go on, fella, unmute yourself, mate. What's your memory of, or JB, or...
How's it going, lad?
Yeah, not too bad, fella.
Yeah, kind of echo what Stephen was saying there, mate. To be fair, when you look over the last sort of day today, and you see players, ex-players, current players that were on loan with us, even coming out and saying nice words about him, kind of tells you all you need to know about the man. You know what I mean? And I think that's probably the most important thing in this bit. He weren't just a bit part chairman. This geezer actually cared about everyone. You know what I mean? So for me, that's a special mark of a man. When my cousin messaged me last night, honestly, my heart dropped. It kind of feels like you've lost a family member.
100% agree with that, mate.
And that's weird, because I don't know the geezer, but you kind of feel like you knew him. You know what I mean? So I think the time that he had for the fans, you see it all the time. He was standing, he's taking pictures, he walks around, everyone clapped him, and our what's the word, like, you don't really see that connection with a fan base with many clubs and their owners, do you? Really, you know what I mean? So, I think that's just the mark of the man, that he seems so approachable, and so genuinely cared. And I think he absolutely fell in love with this football club, this mental little club from South London. He fell in love with it, and I think he just got it. He
did. He definitely did. So, he definitely did get us. So, yeah. Thanks, Alan, fella.
No worries.
If you do want to come in, honestly, you don't have to be shy. You just click on the bottom left-hand corner. There's a purple mic button. Just click on that. It sends us a request that you want to have a chat. Listen, stories, or even if you just want to give your condolences publicly, to his family, to whatever, you've got anything to say, you've got a story about him, then we'd love to hear it, because we are missing a member of our family, someone we took in, and he was definitely. I still haven't. I haven't really fully taken it in. I don't think it's still it feels like a dream. So we'll see what's what. So, yeah, Thomas, come on, fella. What do you want to say? Unmute yourself, fella. Thomas. Yeah, not too bad, fella. Not too bad. Go on, then. What do you want to say, mate?
I mean, I never met the man. Obviously, I've watched, and obviously been in Yorkshire for the last since I was 18. But Gary Routledge, when I listened to his comments and Steve Morrison's comments, they were like, he did everything for his family. That's what he did. Gary Routledge said that when he was having conversations with him, he'd be talking to his grandkids, talking to his kids, talking to his wife. And it was like, you don't expect that from a chairman. you know, yeah, it's hard to deal
No,
with.
you don't. No, I get what you're saying, mate. So,
it's just,
yeah,
it's a sadness.
it is. So, yeah, thanks very much, Tomo. So, yeah, no problem, fella.
Yeah, no worries,
Stephen,
boys.
you got anything you wanna add to what's going on? No disrespect to the Evan fan who's wanted to try and come in. I've got no idea, fella, and I'm not causing aspersions to you. What you want to say, but unfortunately, this one is unless you're known to us, this is more directed at Millwall fans, and I just don't really want trolls in that fella. So unfortunately, you won't be coming on to speak. Millwall, go on, Darren.
Hello, mate.
How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, fella. As I say, I can hear by the way people are talking, it is like a death of a family member. You know what I mean? Not to reiterate too much, but it is. He was so well loved, mate. As you know, he had a heart for the team, and when you see him, literally, where I was sitting in, like just by the directors, he'd look over, the old man would wave at him, and he'd always wave back, even if he didn't know who you were. You know what I mean? He'd still wave back. He was an amazing. I mean, I think the best chairman, well, at least in my lifetime, that we've ever had. Obviously, I can't speak for before that, but do you know what I mean, Mick?
Yeah, no,
It's one of those.
I do. I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
I mean, I see Bomber in there, and you know, he takes the time out to speak to the armed forces lads when we do the Remembrance Day stuff. I'll never forget we did after the London bombing. We brought the 4 Millwall fans back, Roy Liner, and obviously 3 of the other lads who I know what your names are, gents.
Is that when you done the kit as well? You know, like the armed forces
no,
kit?
that was nothing to do with it. That was years before. That was a few years before that.
Go on.
But the fact that he just went up, and at the time we were in the directors box, and he just took time out onto all of them and went up and had conversations with them, and made them feel welcome and everything else. And yeah, he's just a great bloke. So yeah,
It's that beautiful thing about he always had time for the fans. I think, like, I retweeted a quote that just summed him up so much.
Yeah.
It was, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it was beautiful.
I mean,
it was beautiful.
Zamba 69 Wall, or as everyone knows, Miss Sparkles, Miss Popcorn. He said maybe in the world he lived in was full of big deals, his statues, etc. He actually loved the normality of our club, the genuine passion the fans have. He took it all in. He loved it. He will be so missed. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think that's a lovely, touching moment. Bear with me 1 second. I'm just checking something. There we go. Yeah, no problem.
I mean, whether you spoke to him for like 30 seconds or half an hour, he always had time for everybody, didn't he?
No, absolutely. Yeah, no worries. Right, Rob.
He'd have a half an hour conversation with you or a 30-second conversation with you. And it didn't matter.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Right, then, go on in, Rob. What you got to say, fella?
Yeah, I think it's echo of what other people said. Met my boy, had time for him, didn't know us from Adam, but got down on his knees, spoke to him same level, big smile. Goes a long way. I think feeling a little bit guilty today at different points, obviously wondering about the club, what's going on, and at the same time remind yourself that, hold on, we're Millwall family, but he's got a proper family. And that's been a bit hard a few times today, feeling a bit selfish. But love to the family if they ever get to know how much we feel about them.
Yeah, no, hope.
Do you know what? As well, Rob? That's true, but you got to remember it works both ways. Look how loved he was. His family will love that.
Yeah,
I hope so, and I think we all would like to have that.
Could you imagine? I think it's the biggest.
As we get a bit older, some of us in our 50s, you often think, and we lost someone not so long ago, and you pray for a big turnout, right? I mean, it's for the family, it's for them, and I hope we as a club doing well, and come the next season. But I just hope his family are feeling the love, and in their time of despair, they're actually getting the messages, or will do in the next couple of weeks when they get time to.
I think the club will.
I
think the club will probably end up printing off all those Twitter messages. I think the condolence book will obviously be going to the family, and I think they will definitely get to.
Sorry, Mick. I found that quote, fella.
Go on, fella.
It was, there are a lot of clubs who do things in spite of the fans and try to force their side rather than listening. I do listen. I learned a lot from them.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Wow.
It's true.
That just summed him up, didn't it? You know
yeah,
what I mean?
no, I get that. Bomber is driving at the moment, and he's got no real good signal where he is. But he sent me a message what he asked me if I can read it out. And obviously, you all know Bomber is that lunatic with a beard in a Navy uniform on Remembrance Day. And yeah, he's the one who obviously took our Queen to her final resting place as well. So this is a message from Bomber. He says, I'm absolutely gutted. When he asked me last year to see the Millwall badge on the inside of my uniform, for him to know about the badge and recognise me was humbling. He had time to come and speak to me and make me feel part of the Millwall community, even more than I thought I already was. We will remember him. And I think that is what John was all about. John was just, I don't think there is anyone who he wouldn't speak to. He had time for everyone, from small kids to grown men, wanting to shake his hand, wanting a selfie. He nothing at all was ever too much hassle. He was never fearful for walking around the den. It felt to him like home. And I think that someone else of his stature, and let's be honest, he was a wealthy man. He's used to high living and everything else, with obviously where he comes from and the communities and that what he's around. But he was just, he wouldn't care. He would walk around the Millwall fan base. He would walk around without, where some people would probably be walking around with half a dozen bodyguards and all that. He didn't. His bodyguard was normally either, it'd be Billy Taylor, or maybe it would be, Steve Kavanagh or whatever. That was his. They were his bodyguards. So because he just didn't need them, he felt so at home with our fan base, and connected, even though he's from. But it just, to me, that just shows the Millwall fan base as a whole. We don't care who you are. We don't care whether or not you've got a penny in your pocket, or you've got, bundles of money in your pocket. When you walk through the gates of Millwall, all we worry about is that you're Millwall. And I think that's what he did. He didn't care what you were. You were Millwall to him, and he'd talk to you, he'd listen to you, And I've had the pleasure of walking around the stadium with him a few times when I was fan of the board, and some people talk to him, probably absolute nonsense to a degree of what they were saying to him, but he never stopped them. He never stopped them in their tracks and said, "Oh, I don't want to hear that." He'd hear about it. He'd talk to. He was just a really good man around people. He was warm. He was, inviting. He was just a nice bloke, and I don't think there's anyone out there what will have a bad word to say about him purely because everything people are saying is genuine.
Yeah. Do you know what as well, yeah? Just to bring this up, yeah? I don't think he'd want a statue.
Yeah, I don't think he would either.
I don't think he'd want a statue. Could you imagine? That is so not JB,
No,
bruv.
I get that.
It's so not, bro.
No, I get that.
You
I
know.
get that. We got a couple of other messages coming. Marie Wells, absolutely gutted, sending condolences to his family. You never gave up on us as a club. The good, the bad, and the very ugly. God bless you. And also Dave, MSC, once a lion, always a lion. We will never get another chairman like him, as many have already said. Always had time for everyone. A quick 5-second chat in the car park was never too much. Thank you, JB. John O'Meara said, as a football club, we owe you a lifetime of gratitude. JB, a lifetime of gratitude, JB. And Tricky Ricky says, a rare find in football, a chairman that got the fans and the club. So, yeah.
I think you said something. He always, loved us, but he also stuck up for us as well. He didn't just get us; he stuck up for us. He didn't. He didn't come from our manner. He got it. No. He got the passion, and he didn't judge us on it either.
He did. If that Everton fan who was trying to get on to speak is still on the group, then please just request, because I've just had someone vouch for you, fella. So yeah, if you are still listening, I wasn't being thingy, mate. I just didn't want to risk anyone coming on and just being a nightmare. So if you are still listening, or if anyone knows him and wants to tag him in or whatever, just tell him to come back on. Then come back on and I'll get you involved. But no,
why are you talking about the Everton guy?
Yeah,
We've seen big clubs, little clubs, Bromley, non-league, my local, little boys club. They're all sending tributes. I mean, that speaks volumes, doesn't it? Fucking volumes.
West Ham has, Charlton has, everybody has, mate. Some of the things, I mean, I spoke to a Leicester fan earlier in a podcast group, WhatsApp chat group. What I mean, and he phoned me earlier, and he was, telling me, and I just said to him, what happens? And he said it will just, he said you'll find that, and it's true. My phone hasn't stopped most of the day, and DMs and stuff like that. He said you'll find that other clubs will just be, getting in touch, or other fans and stuff like that. And it's true. They're the outpouring of love for JB. It's just mad. And I know that there's probably a hell of a lot of people out there what have never had the opportunity to meet him. Seen him, seen the videos, read his stories, read his newsletters, everything else, but never met him. But honestly, the bloke was just genuinely nice. And there ain't many people in this world who, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think that if you were in the business what he was in and you were doing deals with him, I think he'd be an absolute formidable opponent. And I've seen him with the ump. I've seen, I've had conversations with him. He's got the ump during the regen and other bits and pieces. But yeah, I just think the fellow is a genuine fella, mate. I just think he was good. Stephen, what do you want to say? Do you want to come back in, mate, and give me a chance to have a glass of water, mate? Because it's hard, mate.
I think one of the big things about John Berylson and the way that he ran the football club, he tried and he did run the football club the right way. He kept us on the steady path. He did progress us. It might have only been small steps, and I'm sure there's plenty of supporters that are listening that have come to games that have perhaps said, maybe we need to do a bit more, maybe we need to do this. But we have progressed under Berylson. He did lead us in the right direction. And I don't think there's anything more you can say about trying to do things the right way than what he did the season that he allowed prostate cancer to sponsor the shirt and have the sponsorship all around the ground. Now we all know that as a football club that we are, a shoestring football club, and John Berylson pumped in a lot of money, obviously the £100 million of his own money. Now it would have been very, very easy for John to take on a sponsor to help with the burden of of running a football club and the financial burden, but he wanted to do what he felt was the right thing. He wanted to promote a cause and help promote a cause that impacts so many people. And I'm sure it may have even impacted people listening right now. And I just think it just goes to show what a man he was, because those decisions at that level, as you say, as a businessman, are probably not easy to take, knowing that you are gonna take a hit. But he knew the right way. He knew the way to run Millwall Football Club, and it's just phenomenal. As everyone said, the words, the messages, the tributes, the numbers of people, the football clubs. I often look at. I've had a look through a lot of tweets and a lot of comments on this, as I'm sure everybody has. And you've got clubs, your Prestons of the world, your Wimbledons of the world, football clubs up and down the country that realised that just what a man he was and how difficult it is for all of us. And it it seems surreal. One of the callers that phoned in, I can't remember who it was, who said that he got the message off his cousin and couldn't believe it. Last night I was indoors, and Dan from the podcast messaged in our podcast group on WhatsApp to the message the statement that Millwood put out, and honestly, I pretty much dropped my phone.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me and you
both. It's incredible, and it doesn't feel real that we're going to have a season without John Berylson sat in his seat above the dugout, and I'm sure we'll come on to this, and I'm sure we'll have other people and other messages and things. But if there's one thing that man deserves, that on August the 12th, Bristol City at home. I know the club are very good, and I know that they'll make sure that we do everything we can to show that man the respect that he deserves and the love that he deserves. But I cannot wait for myself personally to be sat in the ground and be able to pay my respects alongside every other Millwall fan that's there that day, because I words might not be, it might not seem enough, and it doesn't feel enough, but I want to be able to stand there and say thank you to a man who's given me and all of us some of the best memories of following Millwall Football Club, because without him, we wouldn't have a football club.
No, I totally agree. I mean, there's a brilliant message from Matt MFC Dawson on Twitter. He says, "Don't be sad because it's over. Smile because it happened. We wouldn't be where we are without you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will always love you forever." And that, that's it. Again, listen, if our tweet of the which we've pinned now to the top of our timeline on Twitter. If you don't want to come on and you just want to leave a message, just go on there and just reply on there and post a message. We get notification on here and we read your messages out if you want to do it. Good evening, Adrian. Hope you're well, fella. But I mean, again, if you've got, if you do want to get involved, just request to talk and get involved. But yeah, I mean, another thing with John, what used to always make me laugh. I used to go to the AGMs. Boring, I know, but I used to go to the AGMs a lot, and every December. And one of the maddest things is that most of those AGMs were he'd sit there and someone would say something about no worries, Ben. Ben, did you want to come on before you shoot off, fella? Oh, he's gone. The strangest thing is someone would raise up and go, "Oh yeah, but what about this?" And he would always sit there and say, and he'd shout at me, he'd point to me and call my name and go, "Mickey, do I ever take money out of the club? And it used to always be the same. No, John. Would I ever take money out of the club? No, John. And it was just regular in most AGMs. It was just like, why the hell pickle me? Do you know what I mean? But he was genuine. And yeah, he was. I don't know, mate. He was sadly missed. To be fair, I think going forward, he will, not having him around or not expecting him at games and stuff. The last game was the season last year with him walking around clapping seems so poignant now. It's unreal. And also, a few people have found a video we posted, probably a year or so ago now, when we played Blackburn after the COVID. It was like the first game back, and he gave the speech to the fans. And again, it's just heartfelt. It's not stuff what's been written down. It's just heartfelt. And I feel for the people within the club. I really do feel for the people within the club, because their connection to him was just unreal. And I'll tell you some bits where they probably would tell you as well. Bear with me 1 second. The East Block. Go on, fella. What do you want to say? East Block. Man can bust toast. Just unmute yourself, mate, and speak.
Hello?
Hello, mate. Go on.
Yeah, just quickly. Obviously, like a lot of Millwall fans, it's hit us quite hard, which is weird because this doesn't happen with chairman. But obviously, I'm quite worried about things moving forward. But I saw an interview a little while back where John Berylson was asked about what the future looks like without him, and he said that there are things in place and he wants the club to remain within the family. So all I wondered was, what sort of involvement does his son have with the club?
What I'm going to say to you there is, I think that would be a different show completely, and that will all come out. But right now, he sits on the board. What his involvement is, I'm not that well connected within the board anymore, and I don't really know the ins and outs of it. But trust me, within a time period, that information will all be made available, no doubt, by the club, and no doubt he will, one of the directors will come out and make a statement. But I just don't think today or now is probably right for us to dig into all that at a minute. But I do think that I don't know what's in place. I don't know, how these things work. But once, obviously, I think it's all sorted, it will be explained, and we'll all know more. But I think right now, I think we just have the future at another point. Not meaning to be rude, yeah. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's just I think with John, I think a lot of us felt like we was all going in the same direction with him.
Yeah, no, I think we will, and I think time will tell the difference. But yeah, we'll see where that leads at a later point, and we will do a show on it. We'll get some information, and then the club will obviously give some out, and we'll go from there. But yeah, thanks for things, Stephen. Go on, fella.
Yeah, I actually wasn't going to speak tonight. It's been a really sad day. I just got back from Spain, and last night went out for dinner with my wife and came home. And as I'm sure you guys do, I'm putting on my phone on social media, seeing who we might have signed, who we may be signing, and I saw the news about John Berylson, and it's just completely. I'm 70. It's just completely smashed me to bits. I'm so sad, and we do have to remember that someone's lost their husband.
Yeah.
Children have lost their dad. Grandchildren have lost their grandpa. It's more than football. And I do get what the previous caller was on about, and we will talk about that hopefully at a later time. I'm just so sad. And I just want to say, I only met him once, and he said something to me, and I just didn't want to. This tells the kind of guy he was. I met him at Watford, and I got invited to when we played at Watford quite a few years ago, and I don't know if you guys remember. It was when the time when I think Charlton went bankrupt twice. Crystal Palace did. There were a few clubs that were going to receivership. And, you know, I'm not trying to educate people, but clubs go into receivership, they knock all their creditors, and then they start again the next day. And all the tea ladies, the programme people, no one gets paid.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to John Berylson, and I don't think he'd taken over very long. And I said, when you took over the club, it was a bit of a heap. I mean, I think they were virtually insolvent. They just took over, I think, from I don't want to talk badly about people, but Peter de Savray, someone like that, who was totally useless. And I said, why didn't you do, John, what Crystal Palace have done? And I think Brighton did it, Charlton, I think, have done it twice. He said, because I'm a Christian. He said, and I don't think that's the correct way to behave. And I thought, wow, you know, did he really mean that, what he said? And with me, the jury was out. This American's come in here, and every year he's kind of put his stamp on Millwall. And there's no doubt about it. I know we adopted him, but he adopted us. I've seen lots and lots and lots of chairmen. We had one other great chairman, in my opinion, which was a guy called Reg Burr. But I think JB has probably even outdone Reg Burr. He was a super guy, and I'm just going to end with this. I think I told you guys a few weeks ago, I bumped into Jed Wallace in Guildford, and without going into the whole thing, he said, I still speak to JB every 2 weeks. And I think he put that on Twitter today. The impact that he seems to have had on everybody that came into contact with him. And it's not, you see all these big clubs like Man United when the fans are out, get rid of the ball and get rid of Daniel Levy and get rid of David. We've never had that with him. Yeah. And we haven't had fantastic success. It has been slow steps, and we have improved every year. And I think we've been so lucky and so fortunate to have a chairman, for some reason, took a love to our little club in South London. We're lucky and we're blessed.
No, we are lucky. We are blessed. And you know, I take what you say about Reg Burns, but I think Reg Burns in his era was
Reg Burr.
Yeah, Reg Burr in his era was a fantastic chairman in his era. But with
Sure.
JB, you've got to look at the era of football and what football is now. I just think that I think JB was just he didn't buy into all this crap with football. He didn't necessarily agree with half the stuff that goes on in it, and he couldn't get his head around a lot of it. But he just, he done it. He was very fair. He played by the rules. But I mean, I think he had time for everyone within the club.
And you guys know how we got slagged off. We get slagged off regularly on the media. Yeah. If someone drops a plate in the canteen, it becomes the news that all the plates got smashed. He always stuck up for us. Always. Whether it was a club statement, he always stuck up for us. I think we absolutely were blessed. And the only point I was making with Reg Burr, we haven't had a chair, and I think JB has outdone Reg Burr. We haven't had a chairman probably since Reg Burr, and this guy was really special.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget as well that when JB was in, JB was in charge, and obviously Andy Ambler was here. He allowed a tabloid journalist at the time. Well, he was a tabloid journalist, Michael. What's his name? Calvin, to write the family book. Right. And he gave him free access. He had warts and all. He could go in the dressing room. He went everywhere. He was, he opened up the club and said, "There's nothing to hide. Off you go." And that takes a bit of a bit of humph to be able to do as well. Do you know what I mean? So you know, that was him, I suppose. He wanted to try and make us more understood with the family book and everything else. So yeah.
You know, I've seen players come and go, and we've all been upset. I've seen managers leave and be upset. I've seen chairmen go. I've seen our ground being closed down. I've seen so many things happen at Millwall, but this is without a doubt the most. In a way, it's been moving because it's made me realise what a great chairman he was. I knew he was, but I didn't realise how great. And it's made me realise how lucky we were to have him. I'm not even sure if there would have been a Millwall today had he had not arrived on the scene in 2006.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there, mate. I totally agree with you. So, yeah, thanks, Steve. We've got someone else who wants to go. No problem, mate. Keep listening. Big H, what do you want to say, fella? Just unmute yourself. Big H, do you want to come in? Big H, do you want to come in? No? Stephen, do you want to come back in, fella? Not you. Yeah, my one.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
on. It's just...
Go on, Big H.
I'll drop out because Big H. Go on,
Big H, unmute yourself, fella. Big H, do you want to come in, fella? I can't unmute you. You need to unmute yourself. Go on, Stephen. Go on.
I just think, I mean, Stephen, the other Stephen, there's a prime example. You know, someone who's an older Millwall fan who's seen so much go on at the club, and you know, it doesn't. You know, people like that are speaking so highly of this man. It doesn't matter how old you are, how long you've been following the club. I think everybody knows and can see, whether you go to games, whether you don't, can see just how important John Berylson was to the football club. And you know, it's one of those occasions, and lots of people will you know, will have fond memories. Lots of people will remember times that they met him. But it's just, for me, I mean, you know, I set up in the top tier, so I don't, you know, not in the lower tier. But you watch him walk around the ground, and you watch him, you know, the admiration that we had for him. But if you watch the videos that they've put out, and I know sometimes it's quite sad to watch them now after what's happened, but the look on his face when he's looking back at us as Millwall supporters, you know, he loved us, we loved him. It's an incredible relationship, and you know, that the person who left the message about, you know, don't cry that it's over, smile that it happened, and you know, it's just wonderful that he was part of our club for as long as he was.
Yeah, no, Rob Brazier, Fozzie Burt on Twitter's just left a message which says, only time I felt like this was when Kitch passed away. Legends, both of them, but just shows you the affection that JB had from the club. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Let me just bring this man in, because if anyone's going to know him, this man is. Adrian is our kit man at Millwall. Adrian, go on, fella, unmute yourself. In you come. Just press the microphone. That's it. Go on, fella. Off you go.
Can you hear me, everybody?
Yes, mate. I can hear you. Off you go.
As you know, I've popped in and out over the seasons and had a little listen. And because I'm an employee of the football club, obviously, sometimes I can't say things and can't reveal. Yeah, I'm totally devastated. Just over today, really, you know, you hear so many stories, you read so many Twitter feeds, it's unbelievable, really, the love that this man had. My son rang me last night. He's in Spain with the boys, and he rang me about half an hour before the story broke. Obviously, the manager had been informed, and he sat the players and the staff down and told them what had happened. And I can't imagine what that would have been like, because I knew as soon as Jack spoke to me on the phone, I knew something was wrong and he was going to tell me something dreadful. But Yeah, I mean, obviously I tweeted within minutes, and just the memories really. As we said, we wouldn't be where we are today without his contribution to our football club and his family's contribution, because I think it's John Berylson's family's money. I don't think it was just John Berylson's money. I think the whole family were fully involved. But one of your callers just a short while ago, which really made me think that I've got to say something. I first met John Berylson 2006, 2007. And at the current time, I was in between jobs before I'd become kitman. And I was doing a bit of driving for Peter de Savary. And it was in Peter de Savary's vehicle that I picked up John Berylson and drove him around Bermondsey. So I think everybody says, oh, Peter de Savary joke. Well, I think Peter de Savary had a lot to do with John Berylson coming to Millwall Football Club. Just wanted to put that there. Yeah, and we didn't speak a lot, to be fair. But over the years, obviously, I was fortunate enough to get the kitman's job, and the rest is history, so to speak. But I think what's touched me more than anything today is the obviously most people are aware that I had a double lung transplant, and I was out of it for a while. And at the end of just before kick-off on the Blackburn game, as you saw, he walked around the pitch and applauding the fans and everything. And he came into the tunnel and he just came up to me and he said to me, Adrian, so pleased to see you looking so well, and gave me a big hug. And that's the memory I'm left with, because obviously I didn't get the rest of that day, and here we are talking about him after such devastating news, and just wanted to put my little personal bit out there. So,
Adrian, I appreciate you coming on here. I understand that you listen to us a lot. I've seen you on there, and obviously I would never ask you to come on and get involved ever. But I'm honoured that you wanted to come on today and obviously share a memory of John, and let fans know the sort of person he was from first-hand experience. I mean, I can hear obviously the hurt in your voice and that, and I'm honoured to hear that. I know that obviously you've had a bit of a rough time with the double lung, and you're fighting fit and everything else, but JB just seemed to know everything, though, didn't he? He knew everybody who worked there's name, and he was interested in people, wasn't he?
He was a great people. He was interested in so much. I mean, back when Kenny Jackett was manager, he used to come in every time he was over. He would come into the dressing room, and he would speak to the players, and he'd come into the dressing room after the game and speak to the players. And I think what's been noticeable today is Steve Morrison, Jed Wallace, Murray Wallace this evening, and a few of the other players, Sean Atkinson, and we've heard from today. And all of those players turned round and have said that they've spoken to him privately. Matt Smith, a couple of weeks ago, apparently, was talking to him. He was helping him with his business degree. So every single player, I think, who's been through the doors at Millwall Football Club, even those possibly as well that didn't have a great career or a long time, I think messages from, back in Kenny Jackett's first couple of seasons when he used to bring in loads of loan players. I mean, Adrian Forbes, people like that, who only played like a dozen games for Millwall. Remember what a great man he was for a short period of time. And his history, he just got the football club, didn't he? And he loved everything about our football club. And he loved this country. I mean, many a time we would just be standing there listening to him, because he loved the military history of this country. He loved, obviously, his own country as well, but he was so intrigued with the military history of this country and the British people. And that's why I think he found it such an easy place to to fall in love with, and that's really what you can't say anymore. That he did fall in love with it. And Help for Heroes, he was always over. Dockers Day, he was all over. All the big important special days, apart from during COVID, he never missed it.
No, he was over for everything. Remembering today and whatever day he could get to. The finals at Wembley and everything else, he was always involved. He was an unbelievable fellow, mate. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing, mate. No, absolute pleasure anytime. I'm just going to look through and see if there's any other messages. Miss Popcorn, I'm absolutely choked listening to this tonight. Unbelievable. Thank you. Listen, our show is only as good as those of you who call in. So yeah, it is one of those. Let me just check that Maria Wells has left him another message. She said he made us the biggest small club in the world. No, I totally agree on that. Generally very emotional about this. This is one of the saddest moments I've spent supporting this club. This rival's losing Kitchen Crips to me. Rest in peace, JB. You will be missed. There we go. I'll just make sure I haven't missed anyone else. Stephen, do you want to come in and speak a bit, mate? Just let me check some other messages to make sure that I've not missed anyone who's leaving messages. So yeah.
I echo. I think it was it Miss Popcorn. It's really difficult sometimes to listen, and obviously to Adrian there. That story about a personal touch of John. Spotting him, speaking to him, and actually having care and meaning behind it. It wasn't. I know this. We know this for a fact. He wasn't just saying it just for the sake of it. He meant the words that he would have said to Adrian, and I'm sure other people. And it's very sad. It is very, very sad that this has happened. And I think there'll be this will happen for a few days. This isn't something that's just gonna a couple of days, it'll all be forgotten about. John Berylson will never, ever, ever be forgotten at Millwall Football Club. He'll never be forgotten by the players, the fans. I know at the start of this calling, we spoke about potentially what kind of tribute may or what Millwall can do, whether they name a stand, whether they name the ground, a statue, the training ground. That there's a list of things that they could do, and John may not have wanted that. That may not have been his wish. It may not be something that happens. But I think the greatest thing that we can do, and the greatest thing that we will do, is that he will forever be remembered at Millwall. And I think
100%.
Every fan up and down the country or abroad, wherever you're based, wherever you are, I think everybody knows that John Berylson was a special man, and he'll never be forgotten at SE16.
No, absolutely. Let's read some of these other messages out where they're on our normal Twitter feeds. Dave MFC87, listening to obviously the show, hearing everyone's stories and memories of JB. Been a very somber day. Feel like I've lost a family member. Thank you for putting this on. No, listen, we were debating whether or not to do it. To be fair, we felt quite weird with doing it, and if I'm honest with you, I've been the most nervous I've ever been doing a show since we've done them. And to be fair, I'm normally game for. I love the live shows. I think these types of shows are brilliant. I love these more than the standardised pod show because of just the excitement of doing. You don't know who you're going to get on. You don't know what they're going to say, and that was obviously no disrespect to people, no disrespect to the Everton lad. Until someone vouched for it. I just, if you listen to these shows, what we do normally, I'm game to have other fans on and whatnot because I can kick them off really quickly, but I just don't want to risk anyone like that coming on, so I didn't. So yeah, Tom JM Millwall Thomas, I think I know Millwall Thomas. From thing he says we owe him Premiership, and when we do it, we're going to do it for him. absolutely. Let me just see wherever. If there's any more, once a line, always a line. We'll never get another chairman like him. Yeah, but I've read that one. I've read that one. Yeah, no, I think we're fairly up to scratch. Very emotional about it. No, read that one. There we go. Janet Reed. I just wanted to say how lovely it is to listen to everyone's comments and stories. So my son told me to say it was a shock, was an understatement. I cried. The emotions took over me. He was a true gentleman. I lost my dad, and he was a true Millwall fan. Love to JB's family. Thank you. Lovely message there. I don't know. I mean, listen, if we're to about another 15 minutes or so, I think. But I'll tell you one thing. What again, and I hope that Steve Kavanagh or Gary Rowett or whoever says this at some point, just to prove I'm not lying with it. JB, I remember when I was found on the board, and like Adrian says, obviously, you within the club setup, you'll get information before obviously it goes thing and all that, and other bits and pieces, and through the region, obviously when I was found on the board, you'll get phone calls from JB about, I don't know, something's happened. We've lost in a certain, we've lost a game where we played badly, or we won a game and he's all hyper. But he used to phone you at, it would always be either first thing in the morning his time, or it'll be about, and they're about 10 hours. They're about 10 hours behind in Boston to us. They're thereabouts. I think it's roughly about 10 hours, and they used to phone you. If it was something important, they'd phone you fairly early, but normally they'd phone you about 9:30, 10 o'clock our time. And I remember a couple of times where you'll get a phone call, and they'd talk to you for about an hour and a half. The phone call would be for about a good hour, maybe an hour and a half. But actually, the only important part of the call was about 10 minutes. The rest of it was just either him asking about you, asking about your family, telling you about his history, telling you about something else, history and all that lot. And they just, I don't know, just made you feel, I suppose, listen, I'm fucking nearly 50 years old, mate, but it made you feel special. Made you feel as if you were important to him to a degree, that he was taking time out of his day to speak to you and give an insight. But yeah, they would be, it could be literally talking about the loss, or talking about the win at Leeds, or a loss where we shouldn't have done, or a player what we're looking to sign, or a player he's signed in the past. It just have loads of stories, and it just phone you up and have a conversation. You just think, like, this fella's day must be so busy, yet he's taken an hour out of his day to talk to me. And that's, when you read the stories, like what Adrian said, when you read the stories of the players that he speak to regularly, he just phone up and have a conversation, everything else. I resonate with all them, because I've had phone calls. I was privileged enough to be in a position where I had those phone calls with him, or the emails, or the text messages and stuff. And I'm grateful for those. But it is for the time when I was within, and I got those, and I hadn't seen him for a while. But every time I saw him, he shook my hand and asked how the family was and everything else. And it's just, it's not. I don't think it's really sunk in yet, but it will surely, no doubt. Adam, do you want to take mute off, mate, and come in? Let me know what you want to say.
Yeah,
thanks
for having us on. It's not something I normally do. I normally just sit here and listen, but
yeah, I think most of you do. But
just want to sort of thank everyone that sort of shared their stories. Adrian, obviously, working in the club, it's really nice to hear. And like everyone else has been saying, it's like we've lost a family member, right? And I can only sort of echo what everyone else has been saying. I've never felt like this about anyone sort of involved in football before, even at our club.
No, not
it is really weird. I don't even know how to explain it, but Yeah, so it's a massive, massive loss to us, as we've all said. And looking forward to that game against Bristol City. I mean, I don't get down there as regularly as I would like to, financial reasons and work reasons and whatnot. But on the 12th against Bristol City, my boy's going to be mascot. And obviously,
what a day to be a mascot.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was never pre-planned. We put him for it at the sort of tail end of last season, and obviously he's going to be involved. He's only 6. He don't really understand what's going on. Obviously, I spoke to him about it and just said like our owner's passed away and stuff. But to actually be able to, because I'll be taking him obviously to the pitch. I'll be on the side of the pitch, obviously when the players come out, and just that opportunity to be pitch side for what will obviously be quite a poignant moment for the club and for his family and for the fans, and it'll just be really nice to be pitch side to be part of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, Miss Popcorn sits on the front wall along that part of the stadium, mate, on the bottom west. So I think if you need any tissues, mate, for those cutting onion lines, mate, I think she'll probably have some for you, mate.
That'll be the tough job, trying to obviously stop myself from getting, because it's so weird, as everyone said, just like how we feel about someone that I've never met him, obviously seen him around and all the videos and everything like that, but he just oozes the understanding of our club and our fan base, and just we can only thank him really for the losses that we turn over on a yearly basis, for him to put his hand in his pocket and just write those losses off of his own back. And obviously someone else said probably his family's back as well. It's massive, and to have lost him in the way that we have is really sad, and really like I say, I don't even know what to really say outside of that, but I just wanted to come on and just say a little bit, because like I say, it's not something I normally do. I normally just sit here and listen like quite a few people do, but I just wanted to come on and say my own bit, really.
No, that's Adam. Thank you very much for taking the time out and coming on and speaking about it, mate. No, it's good. Miss Popcorn said that she'll have an extra pack of tissues for you on that day. So
yeah, definitely needed them, I reckon.
I mean, no, that's it. I mean, Dean Brown, I see you listening in, mate. I don't know if you wanted to say anything. I'm not forcing you into it, mate. Obviously, I know you've had quite a bit of contact with JB, but listen, I'm not going to force anyone into coming on to chat if you don't want to at all. But yeah, if anyone does want to come on, you've got a little while left, mate, probably about another 10 minutes or so, and then we'll draw this to a close. We'll probably do another one of these, possibly a bit later on in the week, maybe on YouTube, just to get a few others who potentially want to come on that way. But we'll probably advertise that in case people want to come on and speak that way. We'll see what's what, because obviously there are quite a different audience. What we have a lot of people who follow us on Twitter, and then some will only follow us on YouTube. So it's hard to try and get to everyone who we do. Let me just check some messages, Stephen, if you want to speak. Let me just message this. East Block. No, listen, I don't need to apologise. I don't think your call was inappropriate at all. You probably missed the beginning part where I said that we weren't going to talk about that. We will talk about it at some point. And same way as we address a lot of the issues, what maybe others don't necessarily discuss in the way we do. We will talk about it at some point, because it's definitely a talking point. But no, I don't think your call is inappropriate in any shape or form. And I don't need to apology, fella. There is nothing wrong there, fella. Not at all. MSC 1885, like I said on my last tweet, it really hasn't sunk in. The way most of us think of him, we don't think of him being a chairman. He felt more like a fan and a family member. He always loved to talk. He always loved to talk to the fans. He truly is like no other. Just double check that I haven't missed anyone else. A Pompey fan has posted a message. Respect on behalf of Pompey fans. John Berylson was clearly one of the genuine owners who cared about the community. Rest in peace, JB. Yeah, he was. He definitely. He was. No problem, Dean. if you wanted to send a message or everything, I can quite happily read it out if you want, fella. But yeah, I mean, Stephen, Stephen, anything what you want to do before we look to start closing this down and getting it edited up for tomorrow?
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to say that probably the last thing from me, and it's to quote our current club captain, Sean Hutchinson, and I'm sure we've all watched the video of him out in Spain. I'm sure I wasn't alone earlier when Hutchinson made the comment about the cigar when he said,
I haven't listened to it yet. Sorry.
Okay, so Sean Hutchinson said that after the Blackburn game, John Berylson went up to him and had a cigar in his pocket and said, "Mate, wasn't this time, Sean? Maybe next year," and put the cigar back in his pocket. And I think for Hutchinson, I think you could tell the look on his face and the way that he spoke. It upset him and hurt him to say that. It was upsetting as a fan to hear that, because the last moments that John had at the ground was obviously in the utter disappointment last year. And I just hope, and I'm sure the fans will rally behind it, but I just hope that perhaps next year, whether it's Hutch, whether it's someone else who's club captain, can perhaps take us to that point that they can have that cigar and look up at John and as we take ourselves to hopefully the promised land. And as I say, it's very, very sad. And I'm sure the rest of the players would have found it as difficult as Hutchinson clearly did to do that interview. And I'm sure they'll be doing everything they can to make sure that the entire squad has a cigar at the end of next season. And hopefully we can do something special in his honour.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We'll run through a few messages. Dean said, unfortunately, I never really got to meet JB, only once outside in the car park after a game when he and Harvey had a photo. When he asked Harvey had a photo with him, he just come across like a lovely man. We are so lucky to have him, have had him be our chairman, the best chairman in the world. He'll be missed deeply. I suppose the way to end this would be, I'd just like to thank JB from the bottom of my heart for trusting me and some others who we're not anyone special. I'm not anyone special. I'm just a fan who, at the time, the words I said to him was, I just want to make sure that with the regen fight, was my words to him were, I just want to make sure that there's a club here in 10, 15, 20 years' time, so that my kids can go through the same level of pain I've gone through following Millwall. And he laughed and he sort of he got it, but he trusted us to pretty much manage with no involvement from the club one of the biggest fights we've ever had against a local council and a developer. And I truly honoured that, he trusted us to do what, we got him, he paid for a court case and took someone to court for libel and won 45 grand. And again, went back into the club. And yeah, listen, JB, wherever you are, mate, thank you. Thank you for coming to Millwall. Thank you for being a chairman and giving Millwall fans a lot of hope over the last 16 years and a lot of the good times. The trips to Wembley, the disappointments at Wembley, and the ups and downs what go with it. But to be fair, there's been more good times than bad over those years. So yeah, thank you for all of that. I'm double checking the messages. Then I'm gonna end with a message from a friend who is a guy called Dan Poor, who's a good lad. And before I read that out, thank you very, very much for tuning in for this. This will be going out as a pod Hopefully, I can get it edited up and it'll be out tomorrow. I am going to try and make sure that we don't have any adverts on it or anything else, so we can just listen to it as it is. I'm, don't want adverts on it. I'm not looking to monetize or anything else. And I'll do my best to get rid of all that. There might be the Talk Sport thing because I'm contractually obliged with them, but the advert side of it we're eliminating. Dan Paul wrote yesterday, 12 hours ago now, and this is the final word, and then we'll go. We took for granted the stability and security this man ensured whilst at the helm. When other clubs were driven to breaking point, Millwall fans could sleep easy. You loved us when we were hard to love and accepted us when no one else would. We wish you could live forever. Rest in peace, JP. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Once a line, always a line.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.